The deputy presidential debate was most fascinating, but only for those who were able to be so keen and so observant that they would notice some super fascinating things about it. And this is what my show is about today. And I'm talking about the tactics employed. Handlers of both sides normally brief their candidate before they go on, and they agree on a strategy to use in the debate. Now, the strategy of Team Azimio was pretty smart. And although it produced a debate that most Kenyans felt was boring, it achieved some very important political objectives. So stay with me and find out what this sly thing that Azimio did that paid off was. And also find out what came out very clearly from the candidate Rigathi Gachagua. I mean, it was as clear as day for anybody who's non-partisan and wants nothing but the truth. So let me not take up any more of your time. Let's go straight to the show. But please allow me to play you a brief clip about the latest Weekly Intelligence Briefings. Don't worry, it's very short. And then after that, we'll immediately get down to it. Twende kazi. Now, I've covered in these WIBs before the story about intelligence officers being dispatched from Kenya to all corners of the world, but more specifically to China. Their mission? They went to collect evidence. According to impeccable sources, this problem started when it was brought to the president's attention. This happened, according to my information, around mid-2016. Rather, that is when the signs of a strained relationship started appearing. The information was most probably brought to the attention of the president much earlier than that. Let us say early 2016. And at the time this information was brought to his attention, it was clear that the president was in a very vulnerable position. If I can use the American expression, what actually happened is that the deputy president blindsided the president. Now, it is important to remember, those who take careful note of what is happening in the country, that around mid-2016, a man called David Murathe came out with a rather strange statement, which many Kenyans ignored. A vast majority of Kenyans were disappointed by the deputy presidential debate run by Kenya's media houses. Why were they disappointed? Because they expected fireworks. However, there is another side of this story that is super fascinating, and that is the tactics that were used by handlers of both sides of the political divide. Because it is these tactics that gave us the results we saw yesterday, which most Kenyans said fell below the expectations of the kind of fireworks they expected. Just allow me a second or two to illustrate to you what many Kenyans were expecting. They were expecting a competition of mchongwano. Martha Karua says something, And then those Kenyans seated at home, they say, yes, 10-0 to Martha Karua. Hiyo ilikuwa kali, something like that. Now, if you are very keen, you'd have noticed that the Azimio candidate, Martha Karua, tried very hard to avoid confrontation. In fact, she was trying so hard. She looked strained at certain times, because this is not her nature during debate. Anybody who has watched Martha Karua debate, even in parliament, will know how passionate she gets, yeah, and the hard-hitting points she normally releases during such debates. Those were absent yesterday during the deputy presidential debate, and deliberately so. Now, if you ask me, that was an extremely smart move by handlers of Martha Karua, and I'll tell you why. It is not a secret in Kenya that the gurus of confrontational politics is the side of the political divide called Kenya Kwanza and UDA. They have no competition. Go to their rallies. They're always talking about so and so. Indeed, they talk very frequently about President Uhuru Kenyatta and his family and what they have done wrong. And they also talk very frequently, very confrontational, about the internal security docket. That is their style. And so going into this debate, had Martha Karua's handlers decided that she was going to go the confrontational way, it would not have turned out well for her. Because this is a game that her opponents have mastered. And therefore, in my opinion, it was the right move. It was a very smart move to play everything cool and non-confrontational. And there's another very good reason for that. The strength of Azimio is that they have a plan, a very workable plan. And they also have policies that ring true, yeah, based on the experience of those who are talking about it. Now, there's no way this would have come out in a confrontational mchongwano session of a debate. I think you'll agree with me on that. But there's something else more important that resulted. The real Rigathi Gachagua came out. And he came out so vividly that anybody who is serious about electing the right candidate, the right pair, the right presidential pair for 2022 will not have failed to see it. I'm saying this because it became very clear that Kenya Kwanza do not have a plan. And it also came out very clearly that Team Azimio has a very well thought out, structured, workable plan. Now let me elaborate on that. If you are keenly following the debate, Rigathi Gachagua at one point was asked how they were going to finance the particular initiatives and ideas they have in their manifesto, the ideas they have on the table. He cleverly avoided answering that question directly. However, later on in the debate, when Martha Karua said that the problem we have in Kenya is not revenue, enough revenue is collected. The problem we have is at the spending stage. Yeah, money is put to non-priorities. Bottom line, there's a total mess in the way we carry out our expenditure. Immediately after she said that, Rigathi Gachagua, in responding to another question, repeated exactly the same thing in his own words. If you are very keen, you will have noticed that Martha Karua smiled. A kind of smile that says, aha, kumbe ona idea zako. Yes, this is really what it was. Now, let us understand, supporters of UDA and the Deputy President, when they say that Rigathi Gachagua won this debate, when they say Rigathi Gachagua performed beyond expectations, what are they really saying? You see, going into this debate, people were expecting Rigathi Gachagua to crash and burn. Yeah, many people of the view that is not at this level of debate. That was the view of most Kenyans. But clearly, Bwana Gachagua rehearsed and prepared himself thoroughly. And therefore he was able to survive the debate. Now, in my opinion, surviving a debate and winning it are not the same thing. Those are two very different things. Because survival is based on perception and past performances of Bwana Rigathi Gachagua. The winner of this debate, and if somebody is non-partisan and examines everything clearly and watches the debate from start to finish, the winner of this debate was undoubtedly Martha Karua. That should be clear. Why? Now, before I answer that question, I need to ask another one. What is the purpose of a debate like this one? The purpose is to gauge both candidates and get to understand what they want to do for you. Simply put, that's really what it is. And so, Martha Karua won simply because if any Kenyan who is not currently supporting any side was asked, which candidate made it clearer to you concerning what they want to do, what they're going to do, and how they're going to do it? Which candidate? There's no debate there. Martha Karua. Now, before it slips my mind, it completely blew my mind away that UDA's candidate and Kenya Kwanza's candidate for the deputy presidency would take an opportunity like this to shoot barbs at President Uhuru Kenyatta and the first family. It just blew my mind. Simply because Uhuru Kenyatta is not a candidate. What will a candidate gain by shooting barbs, attacking President Uhuru Kenyatta? You tell me. Now, somebody may argue that the whole idea is for William Ruto to completely destroy, William Ruto, UDA, Gachagua included, to completely destroy the political clout of President Uhuru Kenyatta within the Mount Kenya region. Somebody can argue like that. But in my opinion, that argument does not ring true. For the simple reason, you cannot destroy mtu wa nyumbani in his own home. Let me give you an example. You want to destroy the character of Kshs. And so what you do, you come to a gathering where his family members are all gathered there. And you know what happens in families? Some of them like Chris Kumekucha, some of them don't. And so you come to that gathering and you want to completely destroy the credibility of Kumekucha Chris. Will you succeed? No! Because even the brothers who hate Chris are going to back him. They're going to say to themselves, who is this coming to tell us how to run our family? And so, I think you get what I'm trying to say. That can never fly. So why bring up the name of Uhuru Kenyatta? Why bring up alleged scandals? A stamp duty that was not paid when some banks merged, and we know very well that one of those banks belongs to the first family. What benefit will that have to you as a candidate in the upcoming general elections? It is a complete puzzle. The only conclusion I can come to is that William Ruto and company are vengeful. They hate President Uhuru Kenyatta so much that they don't mind abandoning the campaign to win the presidency to shoot barbs at Uhuru Kenyatta. They can't resist that temptation. What? That is what it's telling us. Anyway, the highlight for me was the point where Rigathi Gachagua was asked a question concerning corruption, and he responded, "I'm sorry, I can't hear you," 3 times. The way I read it is that his handlers advised him. Yeah, I think Bwana Gachagua has a problem of freezing. There's some people who are like that. Somebody shoots a question to you that you have no answer to, and you freeze and you start stammering and you embarrass yourself. And so they advised him, or rather they gave him a trick to use. When somebody shoots such a question at you, pretend you didn't hear the question and keep pretending until that point where you can gather yourself together and recover. Because if you go back and review the debate, you will notice that although Gachagua claimed he couldn't hear, he was definitely hearing. For the simple reason that when somebody says something to you that you're not quite catching, you interrupt them. You don't wait for them to finish the question and then you tell them, "I can't hear you." Think about it. What? Very smart, very cunning, very sly of the Kenya Kwanza troops. Now I want to give you another piece of evidence to prove to you that Kenya Kwanza do not have a plan. What they have is enticing, seductive words to win votes. Nothing more. Like the seductive words we got in 2013. Every child will get a laptop, etc., etc. Yeah, which never happened. Bwana Gachagua's position, and I believe the position of the Deputy President, is that when you talk about corruption in Kenya, the main problem is more in state capture than in procurement. You know, procurement is where people seek tenders to supply to the government, and they end up supplying the government air and they get paid a lot of money, or they end up supplying the government, they deliver the goods, but the prices are highly inflated. That kind of corruption. Now, I believe we all know, or at least most of us know, that Kenya loses the vast majority of funds in corruption through procurement. Yeah? When the government has to buy something, that is where the biggest hole is. But according to Bwana Gachagua, it is not there. It is in state capture. State capture is where people use government institutions for their own private gain. Yeah, and of course, Bwana Gachagua was talking about the allegation they have against the current government, where independent entities like the DCI, like the police, are used or they're given instructions on what to do, and usually it is directed at dealing with political opponents. That's a view of UDA. Now, if you're to be truthful with yourself, this can never be true. How? How is it true? Because we don't lose all those billions to corruption because of state capture. No! We lose it through corruption cartels that have become super rich overnight from supplying something or nothing to the government. Now, there's an element of state capture there, but it is not the state capture Rigathi Gachagua was talking about. It is not the state capture that the Deputy President has been so passionately telling us about. No. And if you're in doubt, let me try and put it in words that are as close as possible to what Rigathi Gachagua told us. He said, state capture corruption is much worse than the corruption in procurement. There it is for you and for any doubting Thomases out there. Bottom line, anybody who was looking for entertainment, and I believe the vast majority of Kenyans were looking for entertainment, was disappointed with the deputy presidential debate. But any Kenyan who wanted to understand both sides very clearly, get a very good overview of their manifestos and what they want to do for us, then yesterday's debate was perfect. It was brilliant in bringing out those. It was also ideal in bringing out something else. Indeed, the most important thing, and that is the character of the fellows we're dealing with here, who want to lead us, who want to be our next presidential team, president and deputy president. Until next time, this is Kshs Kumekucha.